What is going on, everybody? Sam Dog, the infamous 253, 2020 NFL Draft come and gone. I'm joined by Michael Mathis, and we're going to go over our thoughts of our 2020 Seahawks draft class of 2020. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing pretty good. Relaxing.
Yeah, and then of course we got the undrafted free agents coming in, but we could talk about that another time. But for now, me and Michael are going to go over our draft picks and some of our thoughts on some of these players while we go through it. So first off, in the first round, once again another surprise pick from Pete and John, and we go up and we take Texas Tech linebacker Jordan Brooks. The Seahawks came into the draft with some obvious areas of need. The pass rush has been the centerpiece of off-season conversation relating to the team. The offensive line hasn't been far behind. They take the linebacker. The only thing that's for sure about the Seahawks draft is nothing for sure. Once the pick of Brooks was made, 710 ESPN, Seattle's football experts had a few minutes to wrap their heads around it. However, it made more and more sense. Former NFL player Brock Heward and Dave Wyman were on the draft show with Bob Stelton when Brooks was picked, and they realized that he does in fact fill an important hole for Seattle. What is a position need for this team? What did Dave Wyman say at the start of the draft show? What is the biggest thing this defense need? He would pose a hammer, a hammer. So basically, but what I saw from Jordan Brooks during this was, getting off of the article, was he flies down the sideline, he flies from sideline to sideline, he's freaking just going out there and making hits. But the only concern I have about Jordan Brooks, from what was mentioned, is his coverage, is the way he covers players on pass plays and whatnot. So my concern for Jordan Brooks is the coverage. And let's see how well he can get mentored, because his coach at Texas Tech also was the coach that coached Bobby Wagner at Utah State. So he's calling him the next Bobby Wagner, but for me, it's a wait and see. It's a wait and see, just like last year's first round pick when we drafted LJ Collier. It's a wait and see. What are your thoughts on Brooks?
My thoughts on Brooks, I think I was kind of in the same boat as everybody else at first, where everybody was like, wait, a linebacker? What are we getting a linebacker for? But then I thought about it. I was like, Michael Kendrick, his future is uncertain, right?
Yeah.
And then you have KJ Wright, who he said before he sees hole 18 in his career, so he's almost there.
Wagner's getting older too.
Wagner's getting older too. So, if nothing else, this is a pretty good depth pick, but also you might see him rush the passer quite a bit, because if you look at his highlights, I love seeing him, one, rush the quarterback, and two, tackle an open space. He's really good at that.
Yeah, and then also, who knows what the future for Cody Barton and Ben Burke-Irvin will be because of this pick too.
Yeah, they're going to have to compete, and I like that. I really do.
Competition is everything. Pete always likes competition when he gets new players. He likes making competition. All right.
Yeah, and Barton wasn't even that bad last year. I mean, he like when Kendricks went out, Barton stepped in and did a pretty solid job at some time.
Yeah, but he's got a lot to improve on, though. But we'll see what happens when the competition starts, if we even get the football season. Up next, we traded up in the second round from pick 59. We traded up with the New York Jets and took Daryl Taylor, defensive end out of Tennessee. Now, what I liked about when we drafted Daryl Taylor, from the way that I saw him getting after the quarterback, he was fast flying off the line, and he showed, to me, he kind of has that flash of what we had when we had Chris Clemens in 2013 for our Super Bowl run, and then when we had Frank Clark. He kind of reminded me of what we got when we originally got Frank Clark in 2015 in his rookie year, when Frank had that immediate impact. And doesn't mean it'll happen like that, but to me, my comparison was Frank Clark from when we had him in the beginning. And I like what he brings to the table. Hopefully, he can have an immediate impact like Frank had and just get to the quarterback and put the quarterback on his ass.
Yep, I fully agree. A lot of people, when he got drafted, also refer to him as a reach. I mean, I don't know. I think Pete Carroll said about this pick as well, but it was John Snyder. He said they were trying to trade back this pick, but they couldn't get a trade off in time. So he was the top of the board.
Yeah.
And frankly, if you see a guy that you think is going to make an impact and you know you can't get him with your next pick, you got to go get him.
Yeah, and there was also a part where they were also considering him for their first round pick, but they obviously took Brooks.
Yep, that's exactly it.
All right, third round. Then in the third round, we went up and got the guard from the defending national champs LSU. We got guard Damian Lewis. Perhaps the most interesting thing about state of the Seahawks going into the draft was their offensive line. They have a ton of O-linemen. The selection of Lewis made it 19, but there's as much of a question mark about that position group as anywhere else on the roster. Add in the fact that the uncertainty about how much time on the field is taken away due to the ongoing pandemic is not something that favors rookie linemen, and it was hard to figure out how Seattle would handle the position in the draft. They still used the higher round pick on Lewis, however, and they expect the 2019 national champion to compete right away for a starting spot. Now, remember, we recently let Germain Ifedi go. Germain Ifedi going to Chicago, so I think this would be a good replacement for him. And the question mark really is, what are we going to do with DJ Fluker as well, and what's going to happen with Justin Britt? You know, what are the Seahawks going to do with these guys? You know, with like cap casualty and all that stuff too, and where will Lewis will Lewis even make the squad? Because there's a lot of other offensive linemen we got during free agency there, so the competition for the O-line is going to be pretty big this year too, if we even have the season.
I fully agree. I think this is a pick that many people aren't talking much about because he's the 19th offensive lineman on the roster. But did you see the videos of him recently where he was actually benching 500 pounds and squatting 635 pounds?
Yeah, I caught a flash of that one. It was like, oh man, that dude is lifting a lot. You know, that's what I like. Big, strong offensive lineman, you know? And his run blocking was pretty good too. His run blocking looked pretty good, but could he also pass protect?
Think about how heavy 635 pounds is, though, dude. Like, holy crap.
It's freaking heavy.
This guy's a monster, dude. I'm actually, like, obviously he's going to have to compete against the other 19 offensive linemen, or the people that are actually in the guard position. But I also heard somewhere that he played center at one point. So we'll see if he can compete there as well. I truly am just intrigued by this guy because he's going to have to compete with Fluker, Iapati, what's his name? Jamarco Jones,
yeah.
Haynes.
Yeah, Phil Haynes.
It's going to be a tense competition, I think, and I'm all for it. You need this type of competition.
And you got B.J. Finney and Brandon Shell, Cedric Obue, and Chance Warmack too, for who else we brought in for the offensive line. So the competition at O-line is definitely going to be big this year.
Oh my God, we got Chance Warmack. That's also true. Oh my God, this is going to be a fun year, I think, if we have it, dude. Oh my
We can
God.
only hope, though, because remember, we still got to get to the eye test too. All right.
Yep.
Another interesting pick, which was a surprise when I did a video on, was drafting tight end Colby Parkinson from Stanford. Now Stanford has produced some good tight ends in the past some odd years. Like, I mean, for what it's been shown, you know, Colby Fleener with Andrew Luck back in the day. Colby Fleener was a good tight end with the Colts and somewhat with the Saints until he kind of died down. And currently, I think the best tight end from Stanford is Zach Ertz, in my opinion. Zach Ertz with the Philadelphia Eagles. He was a Stanford product. Yeah. Now, Colby Parkinson, one of the things I saw about Colby Parkinson, I think he had only one drop last year, but other than that, 2019 was Colby Parkinson's best year at Stanford. He's got good body size. He's 6'7", and he knows how to use his height to his advantage when making plays on the ball. So I'm gonna read the thing on here. The curveballs kept coming from Schneider and Carroll. Sure, the Seahawks could use another target for their franchise quarterback as well as somebody to help protect them. It just didn't seem likely for them to address both of those needs by adding to a crowded tight end room. And yet, here we are with Colby Parkinson, who at 6'7" will be quite the easy find target for Russell Wilson in the red zone. Parkinson was used almost like a sixth offensive lineman in Stanford system, according to Danny O'Neill and Pro Football Focus. Noted that he didn't drop a single pass in 2019, but one of my people mentioned he had one drop. But other than that, he was a damn good tight end at Stanford. And as Brandon Gustafson pointed out in our story about Parkinson's selection, Seattle may now have a trading chip on their hands with the depth at tight end. So what does it mean for Jacob Hollister and Luke Wilson? Also knowing we also got, Greg Olsen, and can Will Dissly stay healthy? Can Will Dissly stay healthy is one of the important things. I think this might be the out for Luke Wilson, maybe.
Yeah, I tend to think that as well. And one thing that's worth noting is that I'm not sure if it takes effect this year or not, but owners voted to expand the roster size to 55 instead of 53.
Yep.
So we don't know how many tight ends Seattle wants to keep because we saw last year when Dissly went down, we didn't have what's his name.
Well, Dissly went down, and then there was the never.
Yeah, who's the one tight end that we got from the Panthers? What was his name again? I'm forgetting his name.
We got Greg Olsen. Ed Dixon. Ed Dixon. That's right, Ed Dixon.
Ed Dixon, yes.
Yeah, because Ed Dixon's career is probably about over right now, because Ed Dixon's up there in age. It's just unfortunate how, but when Ed Dixon made plays, he made good plays for us, but he's old. He's old,
Yeah, so when Dissly went down, we didn't have him all season, we didn't have Ed Dixon all season, and it was basically Hollister and Wilson carrying the load for the snaps. There was definitely a decline. But one thing that interests me about Parkinson, right, is Will Dissly is 6'4", and Wilson was targeting him in the red zone quite a bit. Like, one touchdown thing with me is when Wilson threw like a really high ball to Dissly against the Steelers. I can only imagine what he's going to do with a 6'7" tight end.
Exactly. It'll be kind of like, for me, it'll kind of be a little reminiscent of when Russell Wilson had Jimmy Graham, or maybe could it be like Jimmy Graham in his prime with the Saints,
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I knew that we had Jimmy Graham at one point in time, but we'll see if this is any different, because I think that we have different, because if I'm not mistaken, we never had Jimmy Graham with Brian Schottenheimer. I think we always had him with Daryl Bevell.
Yeah, and Daryl Bevell never utilized him right. But Jimmy Graham's best years will always be remembered with Drew Brees and Sean Payton in New Orleans. But on to the next one. Next one, a surprise one for me. We go for the second year in a row, draft a running back out of the U. Because remember last year we drafted Travis Homer from Miami. Now we go DJ Dallas. And DJ Dallas, one thing I heard about for his running, to me, DJ Dallas, I said in the earlier video, DJ Dallas is the CJ Prosise replacement because he started out as a receiver and then made the transition to running back, and he can catch going out of the backfield. And also, another thing that we could use is they said he's one of the best running backs that can block, that can pass protect. He's one of the best pass protecting running backs where he can block and give the quarterback extra time to throw a deep ball. So what's your thoughts on this?
It's going to be an interesting player to watch then. But the thing about running backs to me is, like, it's hard for me to really get a gauge of how to perform in the NFL without seeing the preseason or even regular season eye test. But based on what I've seen with him, he looks like he's a pretty good running back. He's like a Swiss Army knife, basically, of everything he can do. He can block, he can catch, he can run. He's pretty good. Very physical runner. I like him.
Yeah, we'll wait and see how it turns out when the eye tests come. And plus, hopefully, getting Chris Carson and hopefully getting Rashad Penny back, and hopefully that they can have a better year this year, and just avoid hopefully just try not to get injured, and hopefully Carson, can fix the fumbling issues he had this year, because I think we'll have Carson and Penny another year too. So hopefully, that would be good for them. But if DJ Dallas can at least help in some odd time, I think it'll be a great replacement to say goodbye to Prosise too. But on to the next one. Next one, I was a little hyped about this one when I watched highlights on this dude. Alton Robinson, defensive end out of Syracuse. This guy had 19.5 sacks and a lot of big-time tackles, with tackles for losses and some batted passes, and he won a certain award that has to do with the program of Syracuse, which I was mentioning earlier in the other video. So sorry if I forgot the name of the award because I was reading a Syracuse link on him. And there was one position where Seattle probably needed to draft multiple players. Defensive end was it. The Seahawks made that happen with the selection of Robinson, which got former Seahawks quarterback Jake Heaps very excited on 710 ESPN. Seahawks made a great selection here with defensive end Alton Robinson, explosive player with immediate pass rush ability. Hopefully for me, the guy had 19.5 sacks at Syracuse in his career. Hopefully we could see him as a day one starter on the defensive end with some of the other guys that we brought back. Like, who knows what kind of impact he'll have with Bruce Irvin and Benson Mayowa and Jaron Reed. And we don't know if we're going to bring in Everson Griffin and obviously the whole Jadeveon Clowney story. Who knows how that's going to turn out? But I like what Alton Robinson brings to the Seahawks.
I do too, and I think it was Jake Heaps that said he looked like he's the most NFL ready of the people we got so far. Like, he's explosive, he's got big play potential, and he seems really good at stripping the ball too, based on what I've seen.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
But yeah, and then he had one good batted play against Clemson, even though Clemson obviously killed Syracuse in that game, though, too. So kind of got to look at a little bit of what he did against top competition like Clemson, because he played in the same conference as Clemson.
Yep. I'm excited for him. I want to see what he does with the eye test that we have in 2 months. He's going to be fantastic, and I really see potential in this guy.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a dog. I hope he's a dog. I got the feeling he's going to be a dog out there, man. Like, going out there and just trying to get out there and ripping quarterbacks' heads off. I hope that's what we got.
I fully agree, brother.
All right. Next up, 6th round. We watched this one, and we did a video earlier. Freddie Swain, wide receiver, Florida. You said he was just a millisecond slower than Judy, who went to the Broncos, and he ran a 4.46 behind Jerry Jeudy. He was just a little slower than Jerry Jeudy, but had 7 touchdowns last season. This draft was said to be about as deep as it gets, the wide receiver position. The Seahawks dipped into that pool with what was originally their final pick of 2020. Freddie Swain out of Florida, 6 feet tall, 197 pounds, and a 4.46 40-yard dash. Swain could factor into Seattle's return game. We were talking about that earlier with possibly returning punts and kickoffs. But what else? How could we also plug him in? And could we possibly, even after last year, could it possibly mean an out for John Ursua, possibly? Unfortunately, I hate to think that, though, you know?
I don't think John Ursua is going to see the story yet. I think more than likely we're probably see the end players like maybe David Moore, for instance, who might talk more than John Ursua does. Or Jerron Brown is probably out the door. Is he already cut? I don't know if he's cut. I don't think he's cut.
Well, Jerron Brown's already out, and obviously we released Malik Turner, so there's that.
Oh, yeah, true. So
it's an intriguing pick.
Those players might come back on renegotiated contracts if Peter John wants to do that. But the thing about Freddie Swain is I can actually see him being in the similar boat to Tyler Lockett when he was drafted. Now, I know Tyler Lockett was drafted in the earlier rounds, but it seems to me like they're getting Freddie Swain for like punt and maybe even kick return. And that was Tyler Lockett's initial role when he first got drafted, but after a while, he got mixed into the offense.
Yeah, he got mixed into the offense and had an immediate impact, and they took basically kickoff and punt duties away from him and put it on like David Moore and Travis Homer.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that happens to Swain as well, but I'm really intrigued by how fast he is, dude.
Yeah. And then after that, we did it again by trading a late round pick in next year's draft to get back into the 7th round, and we take the other tight end from LSU, Stefon Sullivan. I thought for sure when we did that, I thought we were going to go Thaddeus Moss or one of those other tight ends like or Hunter Bryant, but instead we go Stefon Sullivan, another one of the tight ends from LSU. In 2019, it was John Ursua who Seattle thought enough of to not take a chance on him becoming an undrafted free agent, so they sent a 2020 6th-round pick to Jacksonville and took him in the 7th round. This year, they sent their 2021 6th-round pick to a different Florida team, the Miami Dolphins, and took Stefon Sullivan, making him the second player from LSU in their draft class. There was a little confusion on what Sullivan is at first, though. Some outlets referred to him as a receiver. Carroll, after the draft, that Seattle is looking at the 6'5", 248-pound Sullivan as a tight end, which is what he played at LSU. Sullivan ran an unofficial 4.66 40-yard dash, and he's coming off a senior season where he made 12 receptions in 6 games for 130 yards and no touchdowns. So will he be like one of those blocking tight ends, more so blocking, or will he, I don't know. You think maybe it might be one of those guys that doesn't make the team, and if he turns out to be good, who's the out clause on that? It's tough to say for me right now with Sullivan. That one's a tough to say.
Yeah, it looks like they plan on using him as a tight end, and maybe you can put him at receiver sometime. What did you say his 40 time was?
4.66.
Okay, so he's about 0.23 seconds slower than Evan Ingram. If that's any.
Evan Ingram, the former,
really good.
The Giants tight end, right?
Yeah, the Giants tight end, who was one of the fastest tight ends in his class. So he could be a receiver, but I think they'll probably put him in the slot if he does make the team, so he can go against linebackers and stuff like that, which I am really intrigued by if they do that.
Yeah. And other than that, there you have it. That's our thoughts on the draft class. And now we basically got to wait and see. Hopefully, everyone stay safe. Pray that we get to have a football season. I'm praying so hard that we get to have a season. And hopefully, just that we can be in the stadiums and just try not to, hopefully just stay safe and try not to get anyone else infected with COVID-19. It's a tough time, but now we basically got to wait for the eye test, see what we got, and the first few games to know if we're going to be good or bad, to know for sure, because those first couple of games will show it, But we can't afford that slow start again, But other than that, let's just hope for the best, and that's basically our thoughts on the class. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and we'll try to stay in contact if any other moves happen later on, because there's still some certain moves we can still make in the free agencies, even with the draft being over now, so keep that in mind. So, other than that, with that being said, if you ain't with it, you ain't infamous, and as always, go Seahawks.